This week, Siskel and Ebert review, editor Michael Keaton pushing boss Glenn Close and the deadline in the paper. Peter Coyote weaves a bizarre tale for two shipmates in Bitter Moon. And Leslie Nielsen brings law and disorder to Naked Gun 33 1/3.
Doing?
I'm just contemplating my next move.
Your bishop is exposed.
It's these pants. I usually wear a fuller cut.
Leslie Nielsen is back on the case in Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult, the latest in the very funny comedy series, and we'll be reviewing it this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with new films by directors Roman Polanski and Ron Howard, working with the stars as Michael Keaton, Glenn Close, and Marissa Tomei. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. While I was watching Naked Gun 33 1/3, a thought occurred to me, which I'm not sure is supposed to happen during a Naked Gun movie, but all the same, it did occur to me, that Leslie Nielsen is actually very good at what he does in these movies. Look closely at him in this scene, for example. He's retiring from the police squad, and they are honoring him with a little party. Now watch the subtle way he handles the line about the handcuffs as a throwaway.
I officially give you my gun. And my badge. And Jane and I would like to keep the handcuffs as a souvenir.
And now look at this scene where Nielsen has gone into prison undercover to spy on a terrorist played by Fred Ward. The consistent thing about Nielsen's character, Lieutenant Frank Drebin, is that he always has tunnel vision. He can never see the big picture, only the little one right in front of him.
You call this flop? Real flop has got chunks of things in it. This is more like gruel. And this Chateau LeBlanc 68 is supposed to be served slightly chilled. This is room temperature. What do you think we are? Animals? What are we?
Homo sapien?
Right.
The movie, like all the airplane-style spoof films, goes for wall-to-wall jokes, and a lot of them are very funny, like this one about the department's Hall of Fame.
This is really great. Thank you, guys.
The movie story involves a terrorist plot against the Oscar ceremony. Here, the lieutenant and his new bride, played by Priscilla Presley, speculate on what might happen during the award.
Look, I'm the good guy. I can't let the bad guys win. Our children can't be raised in fear. Don't you see? If we can't stop them, they're going to blow that place sky high. It'll be a tragedy. Unless, of course, it happens during a dance number.
And you know, it's funny, Gene, that even the producers of Naked Gun know that the audience in the theaters are going to know how bad the dance numbers are on the Oscar cast every year. I laughed a lot during Naked Gun 33 1/3, especially during an opening sequence that takes off on Battleship Potemkin and the Untouchables simultaneously. I didn't like the second Naked Gun movie so much, but I did like this one, especially for the way Leslie Nielsen stands there completely unflappable in the middle of total chaos, micromanaging all the tiniest details while completely missing the big picture.
Well, you know, it's funny, you mentioned that you thought of Leslie Nielsen during this picture. I did too, and in my newspaper review, I said the same thing, that this guy isn't getting enough credit for what he does in being the straight man for these very funny jokes. And they're written, just to comment again on what you said about the dance number gag line there, they're writing smart. They assume that we'll get the jokes. They throw so many at us that if you get half of them, you're going to have a very good time.
But also, you know, acting is just as hard if it's in a comedy as if it's in a tragedy. It may be harder. And if he were to give the slightest hint that he was in on the joke, if he were to try to push it a little bit, or to make sure that we got it, it would fall flat. It is his complete blankness in the face of the most appalling things that happen to him and are done by him that make it so funny.
An ego could have been created through these pictures. He's a bigger star than he was before the series started. So in some way, there would be a natural impulse to, you know, I get what's going on. He never succumbs to that. He's
very good.
Okay, next movie, and here's a weird little number called Monkey Trouble, and in a way I admire its attempt to bring something a little more adult and varied to the children's film market, but unfortunately I think it's a really confused piece of work. A selfish little girl, played by Thora Birch, wants to have a pet dog, but her parents refuse because she won't take care of it.
If you really think you can handle it, then convince us. Start helping out more around here.
But much to the girl's surprise, she does wind up with a pet, a trained monkey she finds in the park and hides in her room. A very special monkey trained by its owner to be a pickpocket.
Capuchins live in tropical forests. They eat fruit, dry seeds, eggs, insects, spiders. Ew. Small animals such as lizards, yuck. No way I'm letting you eat lizards. From now on, you're on a low yuck diet.
Pretty lame, huh? What I haven't shown you is the best part of the film, and that's the monkey's owner, Harvey Keitel, as the gypsy. It's nice to see him in a kid's picture, playing a gypsy who works with the monkey down at the Venice Beach, ripping off the crowds. He gets involved with a bunch of criminals who want to use the monkey to pull off some big heists of their own. The two parts of the picture, the kid's part, the adult's part, never mesh, and the result is that Monkey Trouble is one very troubled script.
Well, Gene, I'm surprised that you didn't like this movie because I thought it was charming and I thought it was delightful, and I think it's correct that in the credits they give the monkey, who is played by a monkey named Finster,
yes,
top billing over any of the humans because this is one of the best animal performances I've ever seen in a film, and I thought that monkey was really interesting. He does some great stunts, and I think kids will like this movie.
I don't know what kids will think, but I know as I sat there that you're right. Probably the monkey has the best part, but it's a technical achievement. I didn't think the two elements of the picture
Well, the other
worked.
thing I disagree with you in is when you like, first of all, I thought Harvey Keitel wasn't very good in the film, and secondly, I was really offended by the fact that they identify him as a gypsy and then reinforce all the racial stereotypes. He's a thief, he trains his monkey to pick pockets. He could have been of no particular ethnicity and it would have been the same character. So why go out of the way to make him a gypsy?
I can't defend that either, and yet you still like the picture.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Okay, when we come back, Michael Keaton and Glenn Close star in The Paper about a New York newspaper war.
I'm on my way out at 8:25, and I just happened to notice that our presses aren't running. It strikes me as rather odd, since we are, after all, a newspaper.
First of all, you look fabulous.
Sedona Savings, single largest investor, who alone lost over $5 million. E&R Interstate Trucking. Nicholas D'Onofrio, proprietor.
What are you telling me? These banker schmucks lost $5 million of the mob's money?
Michael Keaton is a New York tabloid editor, all set to run with the story of the street killing of a couple of out-of-town tourists when his wife in that scene, Marissa Tomei, turns up information that these were not your ordinary tourists. In fact, what looks like street violence might have been a mob assassination. But was it? That's the question that Keaton has just a few hours to answer in The Paper, a smart, fast-moving, very entertaining new film by Ron Howard. In the movie, Keaton is a Metro editor up against a managing editor played by Glenn Close and the veteran editor-in-chief, Robert Duvall. At the Daily News Conference, they argue over the next day's front-page headline.
It's a great lead. We'll follow it up tomorrow, but without a confirmation, we still run gotcha.
Boy, what if these aren't the guys? What if they're innocent?
We chain them today, we make them look good on Saturday. Everybody's happy.
Two young black men are picked up and charged with the killings, but Randy Quaid, the paper's eccentric star columnist, has information indicating that even the police think the kids are innocent.
How do you know the bus is no good?
I heard it on your scanner. It was subtle, but I know what I heard. A bunch of beat cops were talking about it, and the dispatcher came on and told them to shut up. But not before they said they think this bust is totally cosmetic.
Meanwhile, Keaton and Tomei have a marital spat right in the middle of the big story. She's mad at him because it looks like he blew a job opportunity at a more prestigious paper, not unlike the New York Times.
I couldn't resist. They are so smug over there. And they got maps, they got seating charts, and you guys...
No, you did it on purpose. What are you talking about? You did exactly what I asked you not to do.
You're shouting, first of all.
I know I'm shouting. I like to shout. Don't you notice when I keep talking louder, it's because you haven't heard.
The first thing to say about the paper is that within reason, it's a pretty accurate look at a big city daily. Things are not often this dramatic, to be sure, and there aren't usually fights in the press room, and hardly anybody ever gets a chance to shout, "Stop the presses," although they kind of justify that in this movie. But the film captures the excitement of an aggressive news staff on a hot story, and the characters are all colorful. What Ron Howard often does in his movies is somehow to make the human stories real, even in the middle of a busy plot, and he does that again this time.
I enjoyed it on that basis, too. I think it's the characters and the performers.
Yeah.
Frankly, Michael Keaton is a captivating actor, probably doesn't get enough credit. He is very good at playing, working men who
are smart.
Who are smart and also have, that's the theme whenever we praise these actors, is when they play smart. He also has these extended family situations. The relationship between him and Marissa Tomei, that feels very real to me.
It does,
that situation does. One problem I have with the picture is Glenn Close, again, plays the woman executive who's the bitch on wheels. And boy, I'm getting tired of that. For all the working women, frankly, how about the working women in newspapers where you and I have worked? I don't find that to be the case. I don't find that broad caricature that's being thrown. If you're a successful woman in a movie, you got to be something to be wrong with you.
Now, Gene, you have known editors like this character. Yes.
No, I don't think so, Roger. No.
There are editors like this character.
Really,
and
wild.
Some of them are women.
Not the ones that I have actually worked with, no.
Well, I compliment you on your good choice in
of newspapers, yeah.
Okay, coming up next, the latest film for the highly regarded and yet controversial director Roman Polanski, a sexy story set on board a ship. It's called Bitter Moon.
Everything you say just slipped out. Schoolboy expression comes from working in the city. I'm a Eurobond dealer. I'm always calling people frogs. You're right, boring.
Hugh Grant finds himself sinking fast with an ocean-going passenger in a scene from our next film, Bitter Moon, the latest picture from the very gifted and thematically twisted filmmaker Roman Polanski, sadly known to many people more for his off-screen sexual adventures than for his often brilliant filmmaking. Bitter Moon is a very strange and at times sexually shocking shipboard love-hate affair laced with black comedy. A British couple on an anniversary cruise runs into a feuding married couple, a sexy French wife who runs amok over her failed American writer husband.
We had an invitation to the captain's table. Trouble is, I'm allergic to beards. Are you allergic to cripples?
Well, after an intro like that, how can we refuse?
Fine, it's settled then. Off you go, baby.
Thanks. Have fun.
Mimi doesn't share my aversion. In fact, she's not too choosy in general.
Soon afterward, the American, Peter Coyote, invites the Brit, Hugh Grant, back to his stateroom, the obvious lure being his French wife, played by director Polanski's own wife, actress Emmanuelle Seigner.
You know, Nigel has been extremely patient with me. We don't see eye to eye on everything, but we share at least one interest in common. You, baby.
After that visit, the Brit's wife, Kristen Scott Thomas, is furious at him. She vows revenge, as the film eventually does turn into a weird love quadrangle.
I feel sorry for the girl, that's all.
So sorry that your tongue's hanging out. Just watch it, Nigel. Anything you can do, I can do better.
Roman Polanski does love to push the limits of sexual intrigues in his film, and this one goes quite far and is quite explicit. His work is an acquired taste. There's nothing safe about it. Bitter Moon has scenes that are uncomfortable, made me uncomfortable, but Polanski, I think, is saying that sexual behavior is often needlessly weird and very funny when you look at it from the outside. With all of its awkward moments, I liked taking the journey of Bitter Moon.
I did too, and especially because although I thought I could anticipate where that journey was going, I was wrong. And I want to particularly single out Peter Coyote in this film. He's the one who has to tell the story, and he's the one who has to lure the husband, played by Hugh Grant, into this intrigue. And he does a very good job of it. It's hard to play bitterness without overplaying it, and I think he does.
You know, Polanski's work is going to last a very long time, and I know that this picture, which I'm sure isn't going to be a big success and people would be offended by it, I'm telling you, 15, 20 years out, they're going to look at this picture, they're going to look at The Tenant, they're going to look at Frantic, and a lot of his films.
Well, it's alive. It's not predictable. It isn't done just to go by the numbers through a nice, predictable plot. And as you're watching it, you're intrigued because you're interested in the people. You know, something really deep is going to happen, and you don't have any idea what it is.
Right.
When we come back, the year's most controversial French film, Savage Nights, and later in the show, a movie starring two of this year's Oscar nominees, is now on home video. Our next film is named Savage Nights, and in the César Awards, which are the French equivalent of the Oscars, it was named the year's best film with the best performance by an actress. The movie tells the story of a filmmaker with AIDS who nevertheless continues to sleep with both men and women and sometimes deliberately does not use safe sex. The story is all the more dramatic because the movie is based on a book by Cyril Collard, that's him in this scene, who wrote the movie, directed it, starred in it, and died of AIDS just 4 days before all those awards were handed out to his film. Here the character reveals to his girlfriend that he has slept with her even after he knew that he was HIV positive.
Tu m'as rien dit. Mais tu te rends compte? On a fait l'amour et tu m'as rien dit.
That's Romaine Boringer as the girlfriend. She was very good earlier this year in a film called The Accompanist. Later, she confronts the man she suspects may be her lover's boyfriend.
Tu comptes rester longtemps ici?
Je sais pas encore.
Moi, je crois que tu vas pas rester longtemps.
C'est vrai?
Ouais.
Comment tu sais?
The film moves knowledgeably through the night scenes in Paris, showing a central character trying to forget about his disease through a life of non-stop activity.
T'es incapable de m'aimer. Incapable de m'aimer. Tu préfères cette petite pute. Mais si tu te voyais, t'es ridicule, t'es minable.
The energy level in Savage Nights is compelling, and its view of the Parisian night world is interesting, but I felt the movie never really knew what it wanted to say. I wonder if Collard himself really believed, for example, as his character says, that if you love someone, they can't get AIDS from you. That is very dangerous information. Savage Nights is an unsatisfying and basically immature film that raises questions it apparently doesn't know how to answer.
I felt it was unsatisfying too, although I'm sure you can legitimately write a character like that and not subscribe to what the character is believing. But I thought it was a very talky picture. They're both, you know, and I think that there were a lot of statements. The only way I can account for the success it may have had in France in the awards is that France really lags behind this public discussion, lags behind the United States in public discussion of AIDS. And when this film came out, maybe this was the first one, and so it was overpraised.
Well, there's a tendency in France for them to believe that it's an overblown American hysteria, and I know that that might have fed into this a little bit. You know, ordinarily you would say, yes, he's making a movie about a character like this, but when the movie is based on his own autobiographical novel, when he wrote it, directed it, when it's his story, and when he's playing the lead, then you have to wonder exactly what he does believe.
Well, he was in denial. I mean, very clearly he was in denial, and frankly, the lives were sort of aimless without AIDS being brought into it. AIDS at least causes some final discussion. Remember, the male lover says, well, we've never talked this way before. Coming up next, the video pick of the week. It's finally out on video, one of the best films of 1993 with 2 Oscar-caliber lead performances. It's time for our video pick of the week, and here's your chance to see a picture a lot of you missed the first time around. What's Love Got to Do with It? The Oscar-nominated performances of Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett as the stormy Ike and Tina Turner. We first meet them as he becomes her guru after spotting her in a St. Louis nightclub.
Do you have a flair?
A flair? Yes, I do. Matter of fact, I got a flair for writing songs, and I also have a flair for making singers famous.
What do you mean?
The people that's come up with me, folks that sang in my review, a lot of them went on to be big time. After they with me, they take off, but that's all right, though. That's all right. That's all fixing to change. I got it.
Yeah? He good?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Later, he helps transform her into a star, but drug and violence addicted, he makes her life hell. It's a terrific picture. If you missed it the first time around in theaters, it's the home video to the rescue with What's Love Got to Do with It, our video pick of the week. Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs up for the often very funny Naked Gun 33 1/3 The Final Insult. The laughs eventually peter out, but the first half is a complete riot. A split on Monkey Trouble, the family comedy about a gypsy, a little girl, and a thieving monkey. I thought it was confused and boring, but Roger recommends it as an entertaining family film. And he really likes that monkey. 2 thumbs up for The Paper, the star-studded newspaper yarn about love and morality, and oh yes, nailing down a big story. It's far from perfect, but still recommended. 2 more thumbs up for Roman Polanski's ocean-going sexual adventure Bitter Moon, which is properly R-rated. And finally, 2 thumbs down on Savage Nights, the French treatment of a traditional troubled love affair set against the world of AIDS and bisexuality in Paris, We admire its tough subject matter, but felt the film left some important questions unanswered.
Okay, now, Gene, we have some very good movies on this show that we're in agreement on. I just want to challenge you to take two little girls that you know to see Monkey Trouble and see if they don't like the relationship between that girl and her pet monkey.
It's not often that's half the movie, Roger. That's just half the movie.
It's not often, and then the other half is the part you like the best.
But I'm saying I don't think that they're going to like that little monkey.
Well, it's not often we get a good family film, and I think this is one of them. That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including 4 Weddings and a Funeral, starring Annie McDowell and Hugh Grant, and a comedy about more romance than 4 weddings really require.
In the words of David Cassidy, in fact, while he was still with the Partridge Family, I think I love you.
And Above the Rim with Tupac Shakur in the story of a gifted young basketball player caught between two worlds.
I don't care if you don't believe in me, I'm going to make it anyway.
That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.